In this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of July 21st. We got a lot of Copper Age love in the group. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle Haas. And in this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of July 21st. Now, for those who don't know, Go Collect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on movement and eBay sales data. So like I like to do on Mondays, let's take a look at the article and see what's trending in the market. But before I get into the books, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, and I would appreciate it. All right, well, before I get into the books, I did want to do a little bit of housekeeping. I hope you guys had a great weekend because I know that I did, having been able to go to TorpedoCon in Los Angeles this weekend. It was an amazing time. I got a lot of amazing books, met a lot of great people, including a lot of people who watched the channel. So it was awesome meeting everybody and getting to talk about comic books and looking at all the stuff that I can't afford. But this week, I'm going to have a lot of videos dedicated to a lot of the books that I picked up at TorpedoCon, and I have a lot of stories and interesting things that happen. So, you know, expect a lot of videos around that event, and I think you guys will enjoy them. But today, we have, of course, Go Collect's hottest comics. So let's get into the article and see what's trending in the market. Of course, this article is written by Matt Tuck. I will put a link in the description if you guys want to do further reading. But let us talk about what is hot. Hottest comics, 721, Red She-Hulk, and Deadpool. So you guys know how I like to do. I like to start here at the bottom. So let's talk about the number 5 book. And the number 5 book is actually going to be X Factor #1, up 966 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, you guys know what this is. This is X Factor #1 from 1986, written by Bob Layton and drawn by Walt Simonson. And this is one of those interesting books because I feel like it's always something that dips between being a key book that you could find on a wall or a book that you might actually be able to find in a dollar bin. So really funny with this one, X Factor #1. And one of the reasons that I believe that this book got hot so recently is because, you know, we currently have the X Factor going on in the current comic book run. And there was a very famous storyline with an X Factor 10 where it was the death of Scarlet Witch. And for whatever reason, that book absolutely exploded. Everybody was clamoring for that book. And, you know, typically when those types of things happen, everybody gains like new interest in things like, you know, books that relate to it, like the original X Factor series. And so this book right here, X Factor #1, maybe got a surge because of the height of the current comic book. So everybody was wanting to get their hands on this book. And this one's pretty cool. You know, it's the first appearance of the X Factor team. It's the first appearance of a character known as Cameron Hodge. Of course, Cameron Hodge has many storylines that would later go on within like the Phalanx storyline and everything like that. So he's kind of a little bit of a significant character. And overall, the X Factor series, I feel like, has been kind of undervalued. I mean, this is similar, in my opinion, to something like the West Coast Avengers, where a lot of people kind of dismiss this series as being notable. But I have a feeling that, you know, when we start to get X-Men into the MCU and we start to explore, you know, a lot of the mutant plot lines, I feel like there's probably a lot of good nuggets that they could pull from this series. And I feel like, you know, there will eventually be a time when this X Factor series gets its due, and sort of like West Coast Avengers, we'll see a lot of keys emerge from this particular run. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see that there are 9.8 sales back here in July of 2021, selling fair market value around the $120 range. And of course, this is a book that, you know, you won't really find too many slabs at the low grade because it is, you know, more of a modern Copper Age book. But this is typically one, like I said, you can find this in dollar bins, or you can possibly find this, you know, in an LCS on a wall for $10 or $15 or so. So X Factor #1, 5th hottest comic of the week. All right, well, let's go on out to the next book here. The next book is actually going to be Kamandi, The Last Boy on Earth #1, up 969 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this, of course, is the first appearance of the character known as Kamandi, written and drawn by Jack Kirby in 1972. And Kamandi, for those who don't know, is sort of like he's the last human who sort of lives in this post-apocalyptic world, a little bit like Planet of the Apes. And now every human has sort of like mutated into sort of these anthropomorphic versions of animals. And Kamandi is sort of like the last human on Earth. So very, very interesting story. Very, very interesting book. Of course, there are people who love Jack Kirby, huge Jack Kirby fans, and Kamandi, you know, is one of the properties that people, you know, have like a big following for. Now, of course, this is a DC property. Hard to say what DC wants to do with their movies, you know, but if they can ever like kind of get it going, kind of get it together, this is definitely an interesting IP that they could explore. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see that there are 9.8s selling fair market value around the $600 range. And then down here at the bottom, a book that you will not usually see slabbed, being that it's a 1972 book. But typically speaking, when I go onto eBay and look at this thing at low grade, I can see copies going around the $20, $30, $40 range or so. All right, well, let's go on now to the next book here. The next book is actually very, very cool. This one is Spider-Man #1, Scorpion Comics, Facsimile, Negative Variant, up 971 spots, drawn by Clayton Crane. And what is the significance of this? Well, you guys know, this is just sort of a reprint of the Spider-Man #1 from 1990, written by Todd McFarlane, with that classic pose, that classic cover, except this one is done by Clayton Crane here as the facsimile negative variant. So definitely a mouthful there, but you guys can see this right here. This is just one of those ultimate classic covers that people always pay homages to. People like to collect, you know, the 90s Todd McFarlane covers of this, and they got to collect them all. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see that there are 9.8s selling fair market value around the $160 range. And then at the bottom, of course, you're not going to see this book slabbed because it's a modern thing, but this is a book that, you know, people are going ham for this thing. I see listings on eBay at minimum around the $100 range, as high, you know, as $250. So things selling over fair market value. But hey, I totally understand. People love their Spider-Man. People love this cover, and people want to get the book. All right, let's go on now to the next pick here. The next pick is a very cool one that you guys all know. This is New Mutants '98, up 987 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this, of course, is the first appearance of Deadpool. Now, this is a book that has absolutely gone bonkers in this current comic book climate. Of course, Deadpool, extremely popular character. This is a book that has been climbing in the last few years, ever since the, first Deadpool movie that we got and the sensation that it actually became. Of course, with each new movie, Deadpool #2, this book continued to trend upwards. And then, of course, with the acquisition of Fox for Disney, knowing that we're going to get Deadpool 3 in the MCU, this book continues to remain hot, continues to go up. Now, there has been a little bit of a pullback recently, but this still is a book that everybody wants to get their hands on. And what do you got to say about this? Of course, this is just one of the most important popular characters that have been created within sort of the last like 30 years or so. I mean, Deadpool is so popular. I mean, think about this. Of all the characters who can actually command ongoing series, with their name in the title, you think Spider-Man, you think Captain America, you think X-Men, whatever. Deadpool is up there. Deadpool is one of those characters that can actually have his own book. I mean, this is bigger than characters like Silver Surfer or Ghost Rider, like, or even the Punisher at this point. There are certain characters that can command their own titles, and Deadpool has officially solidified himself as one of those characters. And for that reason, he is really an S-tier Marvel creation. He's an S-tier Marvel character, and people like to kind of push back on this book being so expensive and not really understanding. But if you just think about, Deadpool's relevance to pop culture and how popular he is, I mean, there's just that much demand for him. I mean, similar to, new characters like Miles Morales. I mean, these characters are so popular within pop culture that there's going to be so many people that want their books that it doesn't matter what the print count is that the demand is always going to be there. And I think as we continue to get, more Deadpool in the MCU, when we get the Deadpool 3 movie, this book is going to go up and up and up. And I feel like this book has not even come close to its ceiling. I mean, if you're comparing it to like Amazing Spider-Man 300, first appearance of Venom, a book that came out 3 years earlier, I mean, this book has a lot of room to grow if it can ever get to that sort of level. And I do feel like that Deadpool is a character that is, in some ways just as popular as Venom, at least in terms of pop culture. Now, as to why this book heated up recently, of course, we got the first sort of Deadpool in the MCU in some kind of way. There was a commercial with Deadpool sitting on a couch with Korg. They were watching, the New Guy trailer and making fun of it. So we kind of got that first team up of Taika Waititi's Korg and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. Kind of a fun little thing, but I think people got really excited about it. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see there are 9.8 selling fair market value around the $2,100 range. Again, this is a number that I still think actually you can make the argument that this is undervalued. If the Miles Morales book, who I feel like is just as popular as a character that came out in 2011, is pushing the $3,000 range, and the Venom book is pushing, the $7,000, $8,000 range, I feel like Deadpool is a character that can get up to those kind of numbers. And then down here at the bottom, of course, you won't see it slabbed too often, but this is still a book that you would be hard to find for under, $200, $300, $400 or so. All right, let's go on now to the hottest book of the week, and that one is actually going to be Hulk, number 15, Variant Edition, up 991 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first cameo appearance of Red She-Hulk. Now, this is a book written by Jeff Loeb and drawn by Ian Churchill, came out in 2009, and this, of course, is the first cameo appearance of Red She-Hulk, but the Red She-Hulk that was in this one was actually Betsy Ross, who, of course, is Bruce Banner's love interest, the daughter of General Ross. Now, earlier in this run, in Hulk #1, we would get the General Ross version of the Red Hulk. There you see him right there in the background of the cover, and then later on in the storyline, that would affect, the Betsy Ross version, and she would become the Red She-Hulk. Now, why has this book gotten so hot recently? Well, there have been so many rumors and speculation about what is going to be coming in the She-Hulk show coming out next year, and a lot of people are thinking that we might get some version of Red Hulk or maybe Red She-Hulk. Of course, this is all speculation, but for that reason, people want to gravitate to these things. Speculators going to speculate, and they're going to get their hands on Hulk #15, the first cameo appearance of the Red She-Hulk. Now, I just wanted to point out Hulk #16 is actually considered the first full appearance of her, and there is definitely variant covers that actually have her on the cover. So I would think that that would be a very, very hot book to get your hands on as well. But being that this is probably more of a sleeper pick, that's one of the reasons why it showed up on this list, because it's going to have that massive, massive jump, being a book that nobody was buying to a book that everybody is going after. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see there are 9.8 selling fair market value around the $150 range. Although I was checking on eBay recently, and I see this number shooting up maybe twice as much for books that are available for this specific cover. And then down here at the bottom, you won't see this book slabbed too often, but you would be hard pressed to find this book for less than $100, this specific variant of this cover. Of course, if you wanted to get this book for cover A, you could probably find it around the $20 or $25 range or so. But if you wanted to get this specific cover right here, this specific variant, you're looking at around the $100 range. Well, that is all I have for this video. Those are the hottest comics for the week of July 21st. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about some of these books? Do you guys have any of them? I really wanted to get New Mutants 98 at one point in my comic book collecting career, but I have so many other gems that I want to focus on that it's hard to sort of allot budget to that one. So I kind of feel like that's one that, that's going to be a ship that has sailed. Maybe I'll find one day. Anyways, drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.